Hello everyone, welcome to Dice on Ice. My name's Megan, and welcome to episode 16 of Curse of Strahd, Vallaki. It's been a while, it's been a little bit, and I'm so excited to get back into this and see what these crazy cats do. I do have some unfortunate news, and I figured we'd preface this right off the bat. Leo, who plays Anatoly, will not be joining us anymore. Stupid life gets in the way sometimes, and adulting, I guess, is more important than playing a make-believe game. No, but we do wish him all the best, and so we will be carrying on from there. And without further ado, Jason is been volunteered to do the recap. So, take it away.
It's been a while. Anyway, so yes, I believe we started last session. We were on our way to Vallaki with our small cart and our good friend Irina, who we were taking to St. Andrew's Church in the town of Vallaki, in hopes that being at this church would keep her safe from Strahd and his weird stalker tendencies. As we were traveling, we ended up encountering a windmill, and Corla and Eli, they caught a familiar smell wafting through the air. It was the smell of the pies from the village of Barovia sold by Granny, that totally harmless old lady who's just like, yeah, there's a little bit of weird magic in these pies, but it's totally fine. Don't worry about it. Of course, Fel and Jean did not partake in the pies, but I think every other party member did. So we ended up deciding to go investigate. Corla and Fel thought it would be wise, in light of recent events, to try and take a stealthier approach. Kind of worked. There were some difficulties, but ultimately Corla ended up just knocking on the front door and getting let in by this kindly old lady named Bella Sunbane, a name you can trust, Bella Sunbane. And Fel managed to use her newfound magical powers to turn invisible, and she kind of infiltrated this windmill, leaving Eli and John outside to sort of wait. With Irina, eventually everybody ended up coming in. At some point during the conversation had between the party and Bella, Fel went all the way up to the top of the windmill and found, I think it was just one other older woman, and there were 3 children, and this older woman was in the process of pricking this child's finger with a needle or something. So obviously up to no good as far as that whole situation goes. So she, still invisible, ran back down and used the message spell to telepathically reach out to Eli and let him know what was going on. Of course, Eli, being the level-headed leader that this group so desperately needs, was like, yeah, we're going to go check this shit out right now. So even though Bella was trying to stop him, he pressed forward, and ultimately we ended up in a fight. Irina ended up taking on one of these hags by herself, actually, which is kind of cool, though I don't think she actually managed to kill the hag. But the rest of us engaged in battle with Bella. Fel and Corla ended up going to the top level of the windmill to save the children. Unfortunately, there were only 2 remaining of the 3 that Fel had originally seen. I think Corla actually discovered some kind of hatch that led down into this weird magical fire. So that's probably where the unfortunate 3rd child ended up. And ultimately, as they were coming back down the stairs with these 2 sickly, malnourished children in their arms, they were just in time to see Eli basically get his side ripped open by Bella's long, awful claw nails, and he fell unconscious, but he was fortunately stabilized by Jean. And before the battle could continue, Granny, the same pie vendor from the village of Barovia, showed up and was basically like, hey, take your dwarf, take his shit, take the kids, get out. And realizing that we probably couldn't take on Granny plus these other 2 creatures, we all did that, making sure to get Eli's gun and other equipment, and we left. And that is where we ended, with Eli still unconscious but stabilized. Important stuff.
Yes, that is awesome. That is perfect. And so we are going to pick up where we left off. You guys are running through this field away from the old windmill. Eli is being carried / dragged by you, and then the kids, one of them being unconscious, the other one barely straggling along. But you guys eventually make it back to your cart that you left on the side of the road. What would you like to do?
Fel is going to immediately deposit the child that she was holding onto into the cart. And she is going to start, though I imagine for a dwarf, he's still pretty heavy. Plus, he has all his equipment and his rucksack that is actually a wooden chest. And she is going to try to kind of pull or lift Eli and put him into the cart beside the child. But it's obvious from the get go she's sweating, she's shaking, and she can't quite lift him because she is not that physically strong. So she just looks to you, John, her eyes wide, and doesn't say anything, and continues to try to put Eli in the cart beside this child.
Uh, John will help you. Just give you that lift that you need, balance and support. But John has a kind of a dour expression on her face in response to what we've witnessed in that windmill. Just the true atrocity of this cursed place that we find ourselves in, the land of Barovia, the land of Strahd. And she'll kind of return your silence in a way, being quiet as we continue on.
So, do you guys eventually, with some effort and some heaving, are able to get Eli and the child into the cart, though it is a pretty tight squeeze. The other child just kind of looks absolutely lost. Stands there not really knowing what to do, not really moving at all, and looks up at you with this dirt smeared, tear stained face.
Where's your home, little one?
For a while, the child doesn't answer, and you can see that the child is actually afraid of you, of everyone, of just this whole situation, and is just looking around in absolute terror.
I'll kneel down on one knee to kind of get to the kid's height level. We're going to take you somewhere safe, all right, where they won't hurt you, where no one will hurt you. Where's your home? Do you have a mom, dad, family?
They took me at night from my home. My mom and dad, they gave me to her. She took me and she put me in a bag. It was so dark. Then I woke up in that cage.
Where where do you where did you live? Where do you live? Where's your home? What's it called?
John, can you maybe pick the child up and take him with us? We need to move. And Fel is just constantly looking over her shoulder at the windmill. We can't stay here. We need to move.
I'm gonna pick you up and we're gonna go to where your home is, okay? I'm gonna take you far from here.
You see the child nod, and as you pick him up, he whispers in your ear, Barovia. That's the village. The name. You see that this kid upon... Oh, sorry.
I'll just reassure the kid that, yeah, we're gonna take you home.
Upon closer look, you see that this child is probably 10. But it's very hard to tell just because of the malnourishment. You can see that the child's been there cooped up for a while.
And I'll feed this child some of my rations, some drinks from my water skin, just to who knows what kind of comforts and privileges of life, that this kid has been denied in their custody. Just make sure that they can recover.
He takes the rations greedily and drinks the water. It creates little rivulets down the side of his cheek, putting a stain on his dirt-caked face. And so, do you guys move further on down the road towards Vallaki before you stop? Or...
I think so. I imagine, because we don't have like a mule or anything. We've been kind of pulling this cart with what little supplies we have. Fel is going to kind of look to Arena and just say, if you wouldn't mind, maybe you and she'll look over to you, Corla. Maybe you two could pull. I want to try something. And she's actually going to go to that little like pony keg of the Vistani wine. We were each given one back at the camp by the Sur pool. She's actually going to open it, or I guess uncork it, sort of, and she's going to pour out a little measure into like a cup or a water skin, and she's going to try to give a little to Eli and to this semi-conscious child, making sure obviously they don't choke, but she knows that wine has some sort of restorative properties. It's a spirit, it's an alcohol of some kind. It can reinvigorate people, and she's going to just kind of periodically do that, maybe even offer some to the child that Jean has, just to sort of enliven them a little bit, raise their spirits.
Yeah, it's not uncommon in this day and age for children to get to drink wine or small amounts of alcohol, because oftentimes it's cleaner than the water that they drink. So the child takes that as well without a hesitation, and you see that the other child is slightly... You can see that he's coming around. He begins to move but he's very, very silent. Even as he moves and shifts, you see no sound escape his lips.
Real quick, was this the child that Fel heard one of the hags mention was Solus?
Yes.
Got it.
Yes, this was the child whose finger was pricked and then just kind of discarded on the floor. Eli, you are walking in a garden. And absolutely a place like you've never seen before, with many different stone paths lined with deep crimson, violet, yellow, orange flowers. Some are as tall as the tallest tree that you've ever seen, and just as vibrant as any small flower. Where you are, you know you're in a dream. It's one of those things that the colors are too vibrant. The sky seems too still. There's no wind against your cheeks. You suddenly realize you're not alone. A man walks beside you. You've seen him before. The death house, in the carriage. He walks in silence, but in an anticipation, expecting you to say the first word.
Sing me a song. The flowers smell good today. A walk in the garden. An apple for me. And I would just continue to sing this song under my breath, not looking at this individual, but also not really, just maybe as I'm looking around, sort of passing my eyes over them, but on my way to something else. Not worried about them. I see rain on the horizon. Do, do, do.
You see a bench down this pathway, and out of your peripheral vision, you can see the shoulders begin to shake on this man. Softly at first, but as you continue to sing, you hear a slight chuckle. Deep, almost a sing-song voice, almost harmonizing your own music as he laughs. You know what is fascinating about you, Eli, is that through all your trials, through all the death that you have seen, that you've caused, you can still sing. And you still have hope.
Sometimes, no matter how cold the night gets, no matter how far the fire burns down, there's always, deep down inside, an ember that still burns. I don't know if this place is trying to crush that ember. It's only serving to blow on it, to stoke it. I feel that ember growing brighter.
That is great news. It'd be such a shame for you to give up so quickly, like so many others. I find you quite interesting. As long as you have my interest piqued, that flame will grow. It will flourish. It will turn into other things. Friendship, maybe even love. It's all very interesting.
Well, I suppose if you want to go on thinking you have anything to do with this fire that's growing in my heart, well, you go right on and think that.
Ah, my dear Eli, I don't have to think. I know. And I know it is only a matter of time before you do something foolish with that spark of yours. Humans always do, you see. They get ambitious, hopeful. You name it. And that inevitably leads to their demise. Not by me. Some people I don't even have to lift a finger. I just have to be there. And an idea, a thought, a passing whisper in the night, a spark. A spark is enough to make the world burn, Eli. I don't have to remind you of that.
I know all too well what a single spark can do. You ain't got to worry about that. But I'm the one that's going to control this flame. And I'm not doing it alone either.
No, you're not. I want you, Eli, you seem very level-headed. More so than the others, perhaps, and more so than some of who I've seen before. I want you to pay special attention. Look at the people. Look at what they do. Look at what they say. You might find that my name, my presence, has not influenced them at all, and it is all them. Or maybe it has. Maybe you'll give in to that paranoia. Who knows? And with one swift motion, you feel a pain in your chest. You are knocked to the ground hard on the stone. The scent of these flowers, of this nature, turns into the sickly sweet scent of pie. And you see Strahd seated on your chest, casually, as if he was seated on a bench, looking out at the flowers of the garden. You can barely breathe as his weight seems to crush you more and more, way more than what would be expected. It's almost as if a giant door of stone is closing on you. Keep in mind, Eli, I will be watching you all with great interest and anticipation. Until next time, my friend. And you see that he takes a cup that you had not seen, and he pours it into your mouth. And you taste blood, the coppery taste of this red, hot liquid. And you sputter awake. And you find yourself in the back of the cart, with not Strahd looking at you, but Fel.
Hey, easy on that. It's hey. All right. You're fine. You're right.
Where am I?
You're in the cart. Just relax. Deep breaths. And she moves away, corks the wineskin full of wine, or the water skin full of wine. It's all right. You're in the cart. We're moving away from the windmill. Just breathe. It's all right. It's fine.
What happened?
And she'll look at the others for a moment as the cart is kind of rumbling along. What's the last thing you remember?
I remember a windmill.
Right.
I remember an old woman and the smell of pie.
So those old women were some sort of creatures, monsters, almost like hags out of a children's story. They had children upstairs. Carla and I managed to, and she looks over to you, Corla, and then back to Eli. We managed to save two of them. And as we were coming downstairs, we saw you and Jean were still fighting, and one of the hags, and she just sort of wordlessly nods towards the side where the hag's claws kind of gutted you before Jean stabilized you. Honestly, you should be thanking Jean. You took a nasty wound, and she used some sort of magic to keep you from bleeding out. And then Granny from the village of Barovia showed up, snapped her fingers, and basically said, leave. And so we did. And she let us take the children and your equipment. So But it's all right. Just breathe, relax. You're in the cart. We're heading to Vallaki.
I reach out and sort of not able to hardly lift my head. I reach out until I find your hand, Phil. And I just squeeze it.
And she starts to jerk it back for a moment, but then feeling the squeeze, she grips your hand back. It's okay. Just relax, rest. It was a nasty wound. Really should thank John, honestly. She was fighting like a mad woman down there. And Irina, too, actually. And she looks forward to where Irina and Corla are sort of pulling the cart. She fights well, honestly.
Well, it's good to know. You all can make it without me.
Right.
But I'm glad you didn't. Glad you're not without me.
Yeah, me too. I mean, us too. Yeah.
My in my pack,
Mm-hmm.
the top of the pack,
Mhm.
it lifts up. You've seen me do it.
I have.
On the right side, there should be strapped in a bottle with a red liquid in it.
Is it a potion of some kind?
You could say that.
Okay.
I think I need it.
Right. No, sure. And Fel will sort of slip her hand free of yours and then move over to the rucksack, flip it open like she's seen you do a dozen times at this point, and she'll kind of rummage around for the bottle, pulling it out and then bring it over to you.
What kind of a rucksack is it?
I already said it once, Jake. One's per stream. You only get one.
As you hand me the bottle, I, without pretense, pop it open, and it takes me a minute to get it down. But apparently, I had a potion of greater healing.
Mm-hmm.
And that is what I am drinking down.
Perfect. Yeah.
I will roll that healing up. When the bottle's empty, I just sort of hold on to it, hold it against my chest, and thank you. Thank all of you.
Yeah. And she'll take the empty bottle back and put it back into the rucksack that is also a wooden chest. Get two.
All right, and that's going to be 12 plus 4, 16 points to get back.
Eli, you see that there's a small child also with you in this cart. The child has, at this point, managed to sit up and is huddled in the corner and looks at you with bright, shining green eyes. Doesn't say anything. Doesn't make a sound. Just stares.
I just give the child what I would hope would appear to be a reassuring smile, but as I'm turned kind of sideways, laying down, beaten up, and probably still have the red of the potion and the wine staining my lips and teeth, I'm sure it's not all that comforting a view for a child.
You would think, but the child doesn't make any reaction, neither positive nor negative, to your smile, to your look. Just keeps staring with a blank face.
I imagine at this point, just still feeling pretty weak. The motion of the cart on the path would sort of, my eyes would drift, and I would sort of drift into a not so deep sleep if possible. I would prevent myself from going fully to sleep for fear of um, wanting to
Not
back
waking
up.
up.
Well, the I was doing all right with the dream, but when he was on my chest and I couldn't breathe, that was a problem. And that's what I want to what I'm trying to avoid. So I'm doing that thing where you're kind of just on the edge of sleep, your eyes are closed, and you kind of hear what's going on around you. But I imagine, depending on how long it takes, I may end up drifting off.
As you're all walking, it's pretty uneventful for the first hour, hour and a half. By the calculations or by the estimations from the Vistani, you should be reaching Vallaki today. And as you're walking, Corla, I need you to make me a perception check. Or actually anyone that is kind of looking out.
I got a 17.
Jean got a. Sorry to interrupt. Jean got a 18 looking out.
Fel is probably more concerned between kind of just making sure Eli is okay and also probably trying to engage this silent child since Jean seems to have the other one well in hand. But yeah, she would just be trying to coax some information out of this green-eyed child about where he or she is from, if they can identify their parents, what their parents look like, kind of what happened.
Yeah, you get no response from the child. The child just looks at you. A blank slate. Not 1 ounce of emotion. Corla and Jean, to your right, to the east, you see more fields, this tall grass. And to your left, the road begins to border the forest. And it's when you round a corner and you see that the forest now surrounds you on both sides. You see shuffling, movement, a dart of a figure. And then nothing.
Did you see that?
I did. You saw it.
Yeah,
You
it's
saw it
over
too.
there, movement over there.
Carla would immediately get out her short bow and ready it.
I need everyone to make a dexterity saving throw. Corla and Jean, you will have advantage.
Well, that's an 11.
Wait, what's happening? Am I awake?
Dex saving throw, man.
Yeah. Well, actually, Eli, you'll probably be at disadvantage since you are in a cart.
I would say because I'm at best I'm prone.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, good. That's a 10 instead of a 21.
A woman, bloody, tattered, comes racing out of the woods and runs into the cart that you are resting in, Eli. And the cart begins to tip. Just for an instant. Your weight and all the weight and all of everything in the cart kind of places it back. But you see this woman, wild-eyed, looking at you. You have to help me, please. Please help.
Slow down. Who are you? You almost tipped over our cart. What is it that you need? Is Lancelot reacting at all to this woman?
Yeah, you see he takes a more defensive stance, but you have traveled with him long enough to suspect that this is more out of just shock than fear. But his gaze turns quickly into what lies deeper in the forest, and his eyes and his teeth begin to show, his ears kind of set back against his head.
Gotcha. So no recognition of who this woman is from the dog.
No.
Okay, got it. But yeah, so Phil will just say, just calm down. What's going on? And then she'll kind of follow Lancelot's gaze to see what's coming out of the forest.
There's wolves. Wolves in the forest. My husband and I, we were leaving Vallaki and we got attacked. We thought we'd take a shortcut in the woods. But they were too quick. They surrounded us and... Oh, poor Thomas. He tried to protect me, but... And she kind of like trails off as you can see she is bleeding from somewhere, but she's just so covered in blood and dirt and mud, you can't tell from where.
How many of them were there? Are there?
6 or 7.
Okay, all right. And she's gonna look. Is there any room in the cart at all? I mean, I know between Eli and the child, probably not too much, but
I mean, it's going to be pretty cramped. I think you would actually have to take out some supplies and carry them, which you can totally do, to have her fit. And it would be very squishy.
Yeah, I mean, Fella's just going to start doing that, not even thinking about it. She's got that blind animal panic going on now, hearing that there's 6 to 7 of these, awful wolves that we've encountered before. She's just going to start probably not even looking at what she's throwing out. She's going to throw out as much as she needs to get this woman a space, and then she's going to, I guess, try to help Corla and Irina with moving the cart. I'm assuming Jean will probably do the same because Jean is strunk lady.
Jean got the child, though. Gotta hold the kid.
No!
Irina does help you. She's looking concerned at the woman.
Is there room for her if I get out of the cart?
Oh, absolutely. Yep. So you can just take your spot.
As they start gathering, trying to grab stuff, I just, no, I'm good.
What are you doing? Your
better.
legs are shorter than the rest of our legs. Stay in the cart.
I can move just as fast as you can.
Yeah, all right.
Mostly.
Yeah, mostly. All right, come on. And she'll help you get out of the cart, stopping her frantic throwing of supplies on the road.
And I'll just set my pack down on the ground for a moment, and so it can act as a step, and help the woman up into the cart.
She looks unsure at first, as if this trauma had or this attack had. She's now seeing clearly, and she sees that she's about to get into a cart with a bunch of strangers. And you see that she kind of hesitates for a moment, but you hear a howl coming that just sends her right into the cart. Oh, thank you so much.
You're welcome. All right, let's go. And Phil will kind of get at the back of the cart, since she's probably not going to be much good pulling it, and she'll just try to kind of like awkwardly push it along, trying to help in some way.
Yeah, you can see. Does anyone, if no one goes to tend to her, Irina definitely would. You can see that Irina immediately goes towards this woman and is beginning to look at her wounds, to tend them, and
Jean will look over her shoulder and tell her the steps of how to bind them, but won't do it herself because the kid's in her arms. Just kind of doing the help action to okay, no, just apply pressure there and wrap it here. I've seen wounds like this, etc., to give her help.
Irina's face goes pale. You can see as she's binding these wounds, and Jean, as you're instructing her, you see the mane. There's tons of scratch marks, some deeper than others, but the real main source of the bleeding is a huge bite mark.
Pour some wine on there, and we'll search it closed. Just you need something to bite on, probably.
Maybe we can do this once we're a little further down the road. Come on.
It's bad, the wound.
I can imagine that it's going to be as you guys are walking fairly quickly down the road. It's not the smoothest trip, and there's bumps, and you hear cries of pain from this woman. But eventually, Irina does get her bandaged up to the best of her abilities. Irina looks at her. You were bitten. Greta looks fearful. No. It wasn't a bite. It was just a scratch. I don't know. It snapped at me, but it wasn't a full bite. There's no way. Thomas protected me, I'm sure. Irina turns to the rest of you, solemn. She was bitten.
Well, we can see that. As long as you get bandaged up and we can get her sewn up later, it won't be a problem.
Aye, it's just a wolf bite.
I mean, there might be an infection, but we can clean that out.
We can boil some wine, actually, once we have time to stop and make a fire.
It could be a wolf bite. Or, and I'm saying this out front, there's no point in deluding the girl or the woman. There is a chance she might have contracted the curse of the wolf.
Is that a fancy way of saying she might have the rabies?
No, I think she's talking about lycanthropy.
Yes.
Do what to be?
Lycanthropy, it's the curse of the wolf. Or in some cases, in some texts I've read back in Daggerford, the boar or the tiger. I don't think that's a pretty big jump to make, Irina. I mean, we didn't even see what bit her. Let's just focus on getting somewhere safe first before we start borrowing trouble.
You're right. We didn't see what bit her. She says that there was between 6 and 7. There is no way she could have kept track of what is a wolf and who was not. They look very similar.
Look, the last few years, I've hunted down my fair share of monsters, and I've heard of people that turn into wolves and rats and bears and tigers, and quite frankly, I've always taken it to be fairy tales. I mean, don't get me wrong, I know there's some pretty horrific things out there in the world. We've even seen a few. But you're trying to tell me that these curses of things, people that actually turn into monsters, you're trying to tell me that's a real thing?
Yes. I am. I've seen it myself.
You're a monster hunter. How do you not, like, not to be rude or anything, it's a little off topic, but how do you not know about this? Like, I get it's not common knowledge. The texts that I read were a little outdated, honestly, but surely you've heard the stories, like you said. I mean,
I've heard the stories. It don't mean I took them to be much more than just that, stories.
Most stories have a kernel of truth in them
And
at
yes,
the core.
I've hunted some monsters, but I haven't hunted all the monsters. I come from a backwater town down. You know, I told you I come from Greenest.
I know.
I mean,
I
you
know.
can't get much more backwater than that, unless you're up in some of them valleys and whatnot.
Irina, I think it's definitely something to keep in mind, but there's nothing we can do about it right now. So let's, again, not borrow trouble and keep going. I'm sure this, and she'll look to the woman, I'm sure this young woman wants to get away from here as quickly as possible. And I am sorry for your loss, miss, but we have to keep going.
I know my Thomas is dead. I saw it. I really don't think this was the bite of a cursed wolf. I don't. There's wolves everywhere here. Thank you.
You're welcome. And I hate to say this, I know you said that you and your family were leaving Vallaki. That's obviously the direction we're heading in. So, but I assume being behind Vallaki has walls, right?
Yes, a very high walls.
Good. So being behind walls, you'll be able to get healed, and then you can do whatever it is you need to do. It's better than being out here, right?
I need everyone to make an insight check, please, if you are observing the woman.
These rolls tonight are not going well for me. That's a 6. I guess I'll default to my passive, which is 10. Slightly better.
I got a 15.
7. I'm not entirely sure I believe in these Lycan.
Ooh, Corla with that passive 16. Hot damn.
So, again, both Corla and Jean, you see that her face goes pale at the mention of going back to Vallaki. She says nothing, but you can see it makes her scared, nervous.
Why is it that you not want to go back to Vallaki? What is it you are not telling us?
My husband and I, we did something. The Baron was mad, and we had to leave.
What is it that you have done?
And just as you say that, Corla, you hear the sound of whinnying. And you can see that around another bend, further ahead, you can almost hear the sounds of horses coming. Multiple horses. And the sounds of men. This woman looks to you, Corla. Please, you have to hide me. I can't let them see me, please. I'm begging you.
What is it you have done?
Please, there's no time, I'll explain later. And you can see the horses are coming, and she looks at you. And she almost is going to get up out of the cart as she, almost cries out. Unless anyone does something.
Fell's going to look from Corla to this woman and then back to Corla, and she's going to nod and just sort of move away from the cart, letting this woman do whatever it is she's going to do. She won't answer the question.
Corla is not hiding her. She's waiting for an answer to the question before anything.
The woman gets out and hobbles as fast as she can into the forest and takes cover by some trees. You all can still see her where she is. She hasn't been able to go far. And just as she does so, you see 4 men on horseback riding up, and you see one of them is something that maybe some of you have not seen before. A man with horns. He has a slight reddish tinge to his skin. And he has these amber eyes that even from the distance you're at still seem to glow. And he's on this pitch black stallion, while the other soldiers are dressed in these strange colors. Colors that obviously are for something, as they all wear a similar garb, save for this man. For those of you who know what he is, you know him to be a tiefling. Which is odd, since the welcome to you in Barovia, such as you are, not being human, you have not seen anyone that isn't human in this entire time that you've been here. He rides up. Greetings, travelers. I've not seen you before. Where are you headed?
We've not seen you either. Where we're headed should be clear by the direction we're traveling on the road. We seek Vallaki.
Ah. Vallaki. Excellent. My name is Izek Strahd. I am second in command to the Baron of Vallaki. Sorry to bother you. You seem new to Barovia. Though not uncommon, you probably don't know the practices, so I expect you to be on your best behavior when coming into Vallaki. But we have more pressing matters. Have you seen two travelers happen by? A man and a woman.
I don't believe so, or are they in trouble for something, Sir Strahd?
They have broken the law. The law of... one of the simple laws of Vallaki. And instead of facing punishment, they decided to run like cowards.
Well, that's not good at all. I guess it's good for the Baron that he has men such as yourselves, and she'll gesture to the other guards around Izek to track down these lawbreakers. If you don't mind my asking, just because, as you said, we are new, what law was it exactly that they broke?
They carried with them items that the guards deemed to be suspicious. They could have been in with the devil himself. And instead of facing a fair trial, they decided to run, which in my mind solidifies their guilt.
So contraband, then, is what it sounds like?
Yes, absolutely.
Well, in that case, as far as I'm aware, and she'll look back to the others, we haven't really seen anyone that I'm aware of.
Afraid not.
No one has passed us here on this road.
He looks to you, Jean. You've been silent. He waits for your answer.
No one. Just us.
I need everyone to roll me a deception check, please.
I'm good at these. I rolled a 3 plus 6 is 9. I'm not good at these.
As a former man of the cloth.
But I did not lie. I told truth. 19.
I got a 14.
Got a 7 minus 1. So that's a 6.
Jean and Corla are just carrying this team right now.
He
I
looks,
imagine I've got my hat just sort of, I'm relying on the fact that I'm a dwarf. He's on horseback, and my hat's just sort of covering my eyes. I hope.
he looks at you all, and his gaze settles on Irina. And he looks at her, and he smiles as if he recognizes her. Well, please let me know if you do, between here and Vallaki. We will be returning for the evening. I suggest that you all quicken your pace, as the gates for Vallaki will be closing soon as night approaches.
Of course. Thank you, Sir Strosny. Is there a tavern or an inn you could recommend once we reach the town?
The guards will tell you our laws and our rules when you get there. You will be briefed, and then you may enter. Hope you enjoy your stay at Vallaki.
Thank you very much.
And you see that they turn and they start heading back down the path.
Once they're like a little ways down the road, Fel's just going to shoot them the bird, and then she'll look back to the others. Well, those guards seem like proper assholes. It doesn't bode well for Vallaki itself.
Not when anybody with items could be.
Seems like a veritable stronghold in the center of this cursed world. Perhaps they need it.
I mean, Jean, have you heard of any items that would be considered contraband or something that would not be allowed in a settlement here in Barovia? I mean, you've been here longer than anyone, I think, except maybe Anatoly.
I've been stranded in the town of Barovia in my time here.
So no items, though, were forbidden explicitly in the village of Barovia?
She thinks back and tries to ruminate, but no real scenario kind of propped up. I didn't much integrate to the people there, but no, I did not hear anything of that nature, no.
Megan, when she took off into the woods, did she take off into the woods, or did she just run in enough to hide?
Run in enough to hide. You can see that she's kind of gradually getting herself up after she's sure that they've gone.
As she's still in there, I move over to that side of the road, just near the edge, looking to where Isaac and crew rode off, and just say loud enough for her to hear. Now, what kind of items would the town of Vallaki consider contraband?
She heaves herself up. Thomas and I didn't have anything. We had a small toy. A chess piece that he had carved for our daughter. It was nothing. Something stupid, and one night they raided our home, and they found it, and they said that we were in league with the devil himself.
Well, that's unfortunate. What's that going to do for your, what's that going to do for you being able to get back into Vallaki?
Well,
Doesn't sound too promising.
I suspect I'll get in the same way I got out. There's a very, very small crack in the fortress, in the fence, in the wall that surrounds Vallaki that I managed to get through. It
Well,
was We were so lucky we didn't get caught, and thank you so much for not giving me away.
Would have been nice if you told us what was going on before they got too close, but you're welcome either way.
I didn't think there was any time, and I needed to protect us both. And you see she puts a hand on her stomach.
Oh.
All right, well, we best get moving if we're going to get there before nightfall. Since you're familiar with the area, as we get close enough, but not too close, perhaps you might want to separate yourself from us and utilize this secret route you know about. Given that this Isaac knows of us and knows where we're headed, I think we've got no choice but to enter through the front gates, as it were.
I think that's safest. He didn't seem to suspect you at all.
What's your
Nothing
name?
he should suspect.
No, that's true. What's your name, miss, by the way?
Greta.
Greta. Nice to meet you. My name is Fel. This is Eli, Jean, Carla, and Irina and Lancelot, and Anatoly. We're kind of a big group.
I see that. Well, thank you again. But if you don't mind, I might want to ride in the cart for a bit.
That's fine.
Sure.
And I'll help her back up into the cart. We best get moving.
I agree. And as you start moving, Irina, she says aloud, "Did you see the way he looked at me? Almost as if he knew me. Isn't that a little odd?"
You don't know him?
No, I've never been outside the village.
I did notice that. I think it's even more important than ever before that we get you to the church as quickly as possible.
I was so hopeful that we would be out of the grasp of Strahd and Vallaki, but I suppose that was naive of me.
As we're walking, I first, when I have a moment, I just sidle up near Fel and just sort of bump my shoulder into her just to get her attention. And I've got tucked into my waistband now is righteous indignation, and I pull it out, and I'll pull this pin, and this whole cylinder slides out to one side, and I just tilt it towards you so that you can see, Fel, that of the 6 chambers that are in that cylinder, only 4 of them are full.
Oh. This is a fascinating weapon, by the way, but I'm sorry, continue.
That's all I got.
Right.
I'm gonna need to find some supplies if I can while we're in town. I need to see if I can get a hold of, well, charcoal won't be a problem, but I need saltpeter and sulfur.
And she'll nod and say, whatever you need, I'm more than happy to cover. Whatever any of us needs, I'm more than happy to pay for. And then she'll kind of reach into her little bag, and she pulls out a actually surprisingly heavy purse of gold, and then kind of tucks it back into the bag. I didn't want to advertise it too much, but I think once we find a place to stay for the night, then we absolutely should talk about going into market and finding some supplies. I'm sure there's plenty of things we need.
Well, that's good to know. You can cover some of that. The
I.
charcoal shouldn't be a problem. Get that from fire.
Mhm.
The sulfur, that might, depending on what we can find around here.
Might be an
The saltpeter,
alchemist or
the
an
saltpeter.
apothecary.
Well, the saltpeter. I mean, really, you just need bird crap.
With ingredients like those in a town of like Vallaki, just be careful who you ask for these things. If they treat a chess piece as some kind of contraband, or will they
That's
think
true.
of strange stuff like sulfur?
That's actually a good point. We should probably talk about that before we get to the gates.
Have you ever seen any weapon like this before?
Mm-mm.
Have you ever seen any device that explodes with a furious fire like this does when I use it? That's not magical.
I was just going to say, no then.
My guess is the chances of anybody knowing what these individual things are going to do is going to be pretty slim.
That's a good point.
Nonetheless, you're probably right, Sean. Caution.
And she'll lower her voice so that only John and Eli can hear. Also, we might want to think about the contents of your rucksack, Eli, especially those boxes or the box that is inside. Do you have one or two? I can't remember.
Two.
Two.
Yeah.
I mean, the symbols on them alone, it looks like something magical. It's something dangerous. Like Jean said, if they're confiscating chess pieces and raiding people's homes, you might need to find somewhere to put those. I imagine they're going to search us pretty thoroughly.
Well, I mean, is there any reason for them to think that these boxes are anything other than personal keepsakes? They do have, well, one of them's got my name on it.
I mean, you said it was like a abyssal-ish looking writing on there, Megan, or some kind of like scrawlings.
Yeah,
boxes?
it looks extremely, looks like
Evil.
Yeah, I don't know how it looks super evil. No, the only way I can kind of describe it is it looks like death metal writing. Like it's just
Gotcha.
very like
Lots of
The guard-
pointy gothic letters.
Yeah.
Very
The guards in Vallaki
exaggerated.
are not fans of death metal. Yeah, so Fel will just shake her head and say, I think they don't look like just keepsakes. You're right. One of them has your name on it, but I don't think the guards are going to buy that. I mean, look at these things.
Well, let's just not give them a reason to go searching through my rucksack.
I mean, it's a giant rucksack, sort of wooden chest-like thing. I mean, it's full of stuff. They're going to want to look at it.
You're carrying a ruck.
I mean,
Tor's got a
absolutely,
bag.
but
John's got a bag.
I don't have weird demon-etched boxes in my bag.
And if we don't give them a reason to look, they won't know that I got. As long as nobody mentions that.
All right. Let's just hope they don't look in there, because then we're going to have to find a way to explain it away, or we're going to lose them, and we don't know what that means for you. I mean, maybe it'll come back to you. Who knows?
Well, as a man of the formerly of the cloth, maybe that'll carry some weight if I need to. Let's just hope it doesn't come to that.
Right. Was there anything else?
Nah.
All
I
right.
need to talk to crap. Her name just escaped me. Irina, is that it?
Yeah.
Yep.
Her name just completely left me for a minute. I need to talk to her a minute.
Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, we should probably drop her off first at the church, or try to, anyway.
And I just have one question for Irina. You seem to know and have a certain confidence about these wolves that may or may not be just wolves. Now, prior to coming to this place, I made something of a profession hunting down certain types of monsters. And admittedly, I've not come across these creatures in my own travels. But I find that when facing against certain monsters, it's best not to, or best to know what their weaknesses are, what kind of techniques they use. Is there anything special precautions we need to take?
I've heard that silver wounds them more than any other type of metal.
Is that something like we just got like this? And I pull out my symbol of Shantea on a chain. It's a silver chain, a silver symbol. I mean, just wearing some silver jewelry like this enough?
No, you have to pierce them with the silver. If you're going to defeat them, it does more damage. I've heard from my brother that they almost seem to recover much quicker if you injure them with any other weapon. It almost seems like it hasn't affected them at all. But silver, the wounds stay.
All right. Well, that's good to know. It's kind of like trolls. I fought a troll once. Those things, unless you burn them with fire, you got to hit them twice as much for every wound you do to them.
Right, exactly.
And then I imagine as we're walking off, unless anybody else has anything they want to say, I just start telling her about this one time coming up north of Greenest, moving through the hills, and it just sort of just sort of fading into one of Eli's stories of when he was a monster hunter.
And as you and Irina are talking, Greta kind of motions you over to the side of the cart to speak with you.
Corla would approach.
Listen, when you get into Vallaki, you people have been so kind. Seek out this woman. Her name is Lady Maeve. She helped my husband and me escape. I think she said she was going away for a while. But she should be returning within a few days to Vallaki.
And where would I find her?
The Blue Water Inn. Go to the bartender there and say, bitter root. He'll know what it means. And then you can see Maeve.
I thank you. Hopefully we will meet again on the other side.
I hope so, and I hope Maeve can help me. Listen, you cannot tell anyone else about Maeve in Vallaki. She has been banished for life. But she goes in every so often to help people like us. There are whispers.
I will keep her secret.
Thank you. Before you see Vallaki, you hear it. Music. Echoing through the forest, down the path. Echoing off each tree. It sounds like some type of joyous harpsichord music, organ, or pump organ music, though you haven't seen very many of those. It plays this very, very happy tune. And you can place the sound. Some of you. For those who can, as children, Sometimes actors and acrobats and various other vendors would come to town and there would be a festival. You would see different shows and different performances. And this happy music would play. You smell the scent of caramel, of sweets. The warm scent of apple cider. And as you come through the trees, you see a large fence, a large wall. But behind the wall looks to be a tent. First one, then two, then almost too many to count. All these different striped tents. And the music erupts from behind these walls, and the smell emanates. And that is where we're going to take a break. So thank you everyone for watching, and thank you to my players, and we're going to take a 10-minute break or so to get drinks, go to the bathroom, and we will be right back. And we're back. So, as you see this sight, Greta pipes up. This is probably where I need to get off here.
Is this typical, having celebrations like this outside of the gates?
Celebrations.
Well, the smells and the tents, and she'll point towards the brightly colored tents.
Oh, yes, that has been going on since I was a little girl.
Oh, some sort of local tradition? Is it a holiday or a feast day?
No, every day.
Every day? This happens every day?
Yes. And she points and she's like, there's the main town hall. She's pointing to tents.
Wait. Is this Vallaki? I thought it was a walled settlement.
So I think you misheard.
Probably.
Behind the wall are these tents. You can see them peeking up over the wall.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yep.
Okay. I thought you just said they were surrounded by a fence, but that makes a lot more sense.
Sorry,
Okay.
wall. Yeah, I misspoke.
You're good.
Yep.
So wait a second. The major buildings in the settlement are tents?
Yes.
She just looks at Eli for a moment, tilts her head to one side.
Sure.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Why not?
Sure. Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Greta, and I guess we'll see you inside, maybe.
I hope so. And as she says that, she gives you a knowing look, Corla, and nods before she kind of heads out and disappears into the tree line. Guys, continue up the road.
Indeed.
Do you think their temple is the church? St. Andrew's isn't going to be a tent, is it? Do you think?
I'm not even sure. Maybe it's just the tents we see over the walls, and there's actual buildings and proper church in there. I don't know.
Right. I mean, I'm sure they have to have actual buildings. It can't just all be tents. But as fellas sort of trying to see the extent of the tents over this wall as we get closer, which is probably going to just be an exercise in futility, she definitely does not look sure of that at all.
They have trees for lumber. They built a wall.
Right. Seems a bit odd.
This is of their own choice. I could see perhaps if they were nomads, perhaps. But to be walled in like this. It's odd.
So the road you're walking on, it dips into a valley, and you can see that it is watched over by brooding mountains to the north and to the south. Thick fog begins to accumulate around you. And as you get closer to the walls, you can see that this fog is pressing up against them. Almost as if it's trying to get over but can't quite reach as it falls back down over the side. The road ends at a set of gates. The gates, you can see, are iron but have been covered over with this brightly colored paper. A pair of figures stand on either side of these gates. They wear the same colors as the men with Isaac did. They almost look like jesters. Brightly colored hats. They smile at you. A woman steps forward. Welcome, travelers. Welcome to Vallaki. You all are just in time. The sun was about to set. We were about to close these gates for the night. You would have been stranded out here, and that would not have been good.
Well, we're glad you didn't close the gates yet.
Absolutely. Well, as you... Oh, wait. Oh, I've never seen you before. Are you new here?
Yeah. Yeah, you can say that.
Ah, from the village of Barovia, then. Well, you have come on quite a journey to come to Vallaki.
Indeed, we have.
Have you come to get away from... And she looks around her almost like comically. Like she stops and just looks one way and then the other, and she leans in and stage whispers. Are you here to get away from the devil?
And I would lean conspiratorially towards her and look back and forth and say, that's right.
Well, then you and I are just like peas in a pod now, aren't we? Now, before you come in, we're going to have to do a few routine checks. This is nothing too much. We just need to see your items. You need to stow anything that might be considered contraband with us. But you are more than welcome to bring your weapons with you. But, I mean, I wouldn't suggest on using them. Those guards in there sometimes aren't too nice.
Well, of course not. We wouldn't dream of using them.
All right, you all seem like wonderful new citizens to Vallaki. Now, need to check, first things first, I need to check your teeth. So, give me a big old smile. Can imagine Jean is that low when she all right, now, one of the priests here is just going to sprinkle some water on you. Shouldn't be too much. It might be a little bit cold, so apologies for that. And you see a man in sackcloth clothes and a shaved head comes from seemingly nowhere, shadows. He doesn't have the same demeanor as the guards. His is way more sallow, dark, contemplative. And he takes this bowl, and you can see it's full of water, and he just kind of sprinkles it on you. Each of you. He turns to the guard, he gives a nod, and he walks away. All right, now, we just need to take a quick look in all your items before we can let you pass. Any bags, boxes, crates, sacks. Let's bring them all here.
Sure. And I walk to the back of the cart and pull aside any tarps, move things around so I can get a good look at it.
All right, Peter, why don't you go and look inside those crates there? And the other guard, still smiling, hasn't said a word this whole time. And he begins to look through the boxes. Once he's done, he gives a nod to the woman guard. All right, seems good. And since you're new, we're going to read out your the rules we have in this little town here. We let everyone know before they come in, just so that they're aware. All right, listen closely. All residents must be smiling and in a cheerful disposition at all times. Failure to do so will result in a mandatory installation of the device known as Joy. No one shall speak Strahd's name out loud or carry written documents with his name on them. The Baron hardly believes that to speak of the devil is to summon him. Residents must participate in any and all shows with the enthusiasm akin to that of any joyous citizen. No one shall speak poorly of the Baron or the festivals, nor hold any documents that present either in an ill light. Admittance to Blue Water Inn is restricted to the hours of dusk and sunset. Those who are staying at the Blue Water Inn may not leave until sunrise and may not re-enter until the unrestricted hours. The Baron and his associates are privy to random house and residence checks and the confiscation of any items linked to the devil. A mandatory participation of at least one performance per day is expected of each resident. The gate in and out of Vallaki shall close at nightfall, and no admittance shall be granted after it's dark. Magic has been outlawed unless use in the production of various shows. Failure to comply with these laws may result in time in the stocks, seizure of assets, imprisonment, personal reformation by the Baron, or public execution. Now, if you agree to all of these laws, then we can let you in. What do you say?
I look back at Corla, then over at Sean. I give Fell a look, just a little bit longer, just sort of almost trying to communicate without words. And then still looking at Fell, this big grin comes across my face that does not extend to my eyes.
And Fell looks probably visibly ill at this point, just hearing this long list of laws, hearing about the magic, hearing just all of how restricted this is. She's never encountered anything like this before, obviously. But she looks at you, Eli, seeing the smile doesn't quite reach your eyes, and she takes a breath and just slowly this grin spreads across her pale, freckled face. But it definitely does not reach her eyes either, and she looks pretty unnerved by all this.
Well, ma'am, I can tell you, we are sure as tootin' excited to be here in Vallaki and are looking forward to all the joy that is going to be present in our stay here. It seems no doubt that we came to the right place.
That is the attitude of an upstanding citizen. I am so glad you're learning already. Well, without further ado, welcome to Vallaki. And she makes a signal, and she is going to open up the gates and let you in to Vallaki.
And Fell, as we're sort of entering, we'll stop by this lady guard and just say, quick question, friend. Where might we find the Church of St. Andrels? We're very pious folk, just wanting to pay our respects and all that. Yes, indeed.
On some sort of pilgrimage, are you? Well, that is
Something like that.
extremely admirable.
Mm-hmm.
Of course. It'll just be on your right through the different alleyways there, past the acrobats, around the jugglers, and just beside the dancing monkey caravan. You can't miss it.
Is it an actual building, or is it one of these lovely tents?
A building? No. We got rid of those months and months and months ago. They were way too drab.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Don't you think these colors are just fantastic?
They certainly are. All right. Well, thank you. I will keep an eye out for the dancing monkey caravan. Have a great one, friend. And Fell will just very quickly walk away, following the rest of the group.
All right, so you are in Vallaki, and it is extremely overwhelming. you see dancers and acrobats, and you see flame jugglers and all sorts of animals doing tricks. You see signs everywhere. It is absolutely just this overwhelming sense of noise and people, and they all have a smile plastered on their face. You see some with this strange device on their head. It's kind of like a harness, a metal harness over top of their head, a cap of sorts, with two metal prongs that reach down and force the mouth to smile. It is absolutely chaos. What would you like to do?
And Fel will lower her voice. We're not going to stay here too terribly long, are we? This place is nightmarish, even compared by what we've already seen.
It hurts my face.
I think you're gonna want to try to. You're gonna want to keep that kind of talk.
Yeah, no, I know.
Minimum.
It's a lot.
We're gonna do our best to make our way through these, delightful streets and alleyways, and try to find the church that can no doubt be overflowing with a bounty of happiness and excitement.
You're getting so into this, it's worrying me. All right, we need to look for the dancing monkey caravan. That's what the lady guard told me. So let's do that right now.
How hard can a dancing monkey caravan be to find?
I don't know. And she kind of watches like a bunch of acrobats. I imagine they just kind of tumble by. I don't know. We'll see.
And I feel like as we're moving through, the way you've described it, it just feels like there's people pressing in everywhere, barely moving out of the way of this cart as we're moving through. And like you said, we're having to dodge around acrobats. And for some reason I have this vision of, as we start to move, just one of those people on the side with the torch, and then they just spitting the flame. This is just like circus chaos.
Yeah, it is absolute chaos. People are crowded in these small little alleyways between these tents. And as you maybe get a peek into each of them, you see that there are fortune tellers upon fortune tellers. You see that there's people making potions. You see that there's people dancing. You see, like, it's just overwhelming. And as you're making your way down these alleyways, Irina says, "This place is not like I had imagined at all. Do we really think that Strahd isn't here?" I mean, and she, as soon as she says that, you see a bunch of people look over. Do you really think that he isn't here?
I find it hard to believe that anybody could have imagined a place like this.
Unless they were fucking insane with joy and happiness. Absolutely.
And I have no reason to believe that he would be in this place.
Let's hope Saint Andrel, the priest there, I heard from some of the people who've been here that he's a very decent fellow.
Fingers crossed.
So people leave here. That's great.
Amongst this crowd, you see a familiar face. The face of Izek. As he weaves his way through. He's not smiling. I don't even think you could imagine him smiling. He is huge. You didn't get to see his full size when he was on that horse, but he towers over everyone else, at least a good head and a half above them. and people seem to move out of the way to make room for him as he just kind of casually saunters up to you as if this crowd was nothing but wading through water. I'm really glad to see that you made it here.
Absolutely. Thank you for your assistance earlier, Sir Strasny. We're just on our way to St. Andrew's looking for that dancing monkey caravan right now.
I understand that things can be a bit overwhelming here at first.
Not at all. It's wonderful.
Trust me, we haven't had a wolf attack, or for that matter, a him attack, for years and years. Ever since the Baron started doing this on a daily basis. Can you imagine they used to do this weekly?
Ludicrous. Absolutely ludicrous.
That's what I thought. Well, I was told by the good Baron that since you're new here, he invites you personally to one of the shows tonight. And he each gives you like this little stub of parchment.
It's very generous of the Baron. Please, if you could, I don't know if he'll be at the show. I'm sure he has other important things to tend to. Please let him know that we're very grateful. Very much so.
Oh, most definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Be a great way to meet all the nobles and, kind of get to know who was on the up and up in this here town.
Absolutely. Thank you, Sir Strasny. Well, we appreciate it.
Right. See you around.
Mm-hmm.
And just as quickly as he came, he leaves, just kind of, despite his bulky frame, just gliding through this crowd of people.
Yes, let's get to this church right, like, immediately. Let's go. And Fel's gonna start kind of trying to shoulder her way through the crowd.
I'm looking at Sean and Corla to see how they're doing with all this false motivation, false cheeriness.
John almost seems to be like lagging behind everyone else. Just with every step, she kind of falls a bit further behind and has to squeeze past people and gets caught by them. She's burdened by this child that she carries, who may be delighted by what they see or even overstimulated. Who knows? But she has a hard time keeping up with the pace, as she gets pinched off all the time by passing acrobats and flamethrowers and such.
Something that does draw your attention, John, is you're looking in the back of this cart where this child is. You see that the child in your arms has his face nestled in your shoulder, so he isn't showing his face to anyone. Probably just absolutely terrified. But the child in the cart is not smiling. Blank face. And you see, Jean, that people are beginning to notice. You see whispering, them looking at each other. You hear the word guard said. What do you do?
John will try to catch up to the child and just can you smile, little one, to the blank-faced, silent, dead-eyed child.
And in the same way, every time you try and interact with him, there is no response. He looks at you, and you can see the ever so slight tilt of his head, but you're not sure if that's just another one of his actions that he seems to repeat over and over again.
And she'll try to, calm the townspeople. Like, he's ill, he's just ill. But who knows how they respond to that. Even if they pay heed to it at all.
I need someone to roll me a percentile, please.
I'll do it, since I'm about to get fucked up by this. I mean, messed up by this. All right.
Language. This is a children's campaign.
This is PG-13. I got an 89.
All right, so you see the whispering. They keep. Actually, it's much easier to move the cart now that you're saying that he's sick because people are keeping their distance. No guards approach you as of yet. It is confusing in this place. All the tents look the same. The smells just begin to get nauseating. Before, at some point, you can't even smell them anymore. The sounds are loud, the lights are bright, the flames. You can see that there is some magic being done, but it is only being used in performances. But with the amount of performances being done, it's just absolutely shining bright as if it was daylight. Even though you know it is well past evening. You eventually get to a caravan where you see a man with a monkey on his shoulder dancing to a tune on some sort of magic mouth device. I need everyone, please, to make me a history check.
I actually remember this.
I have not rolled above a 10 this entire night. That is an 8 total.
16.
This is a history check.
I skipped that class. I got a 5.
Boy was a fool for cutting history.
I got a 1.
All right. Jean,
Sean's the nerd.
you remember the words of Madame Eva when she did her card reading. She says, "This card sheds light on one who will help you greatly in the battle against darkness. Look for an entertaining man with a monkey. This man is more than he seems."
And like, Jean just gets confused. Oh, she was literally being literal. Like, it's just a man with a monkey. And she'll try to catch up to whomever is with them. Who closer? Perhaps it's Eli, because he's a dwarf. He lags behind. It's this what Madame Eva had said on her cards. The man with the monkey.
There's definitely a man with a monkey. What about what?
Do you remember her cards? Do you want me to speak louder? Is it hard for you to hear? It's quite loud. It's joyously loud here.
Yes, it's the laughter and joy is uncontainable. And I do see that delightful looking monkey on that equally delightful looking man.
And I
What
was
of it?
I was delighted to remember that. And she kind of like, oh, fuck this, kind of leans in. That the tarot reading from Madame Eva.
Yes, I definitely remember what you're talking about.
I thought it strange at the time, but here we are. It exists
Yeah,
in its most literal sense.
I find it strange at this time, to be perfectly honest. Well, what are we supposed to do with it?
It's hard for me to think with this joyous noise, but I don't know. I've been just at a loss here. At a loss for my words. I was hoping that you could make something of it. A joke, perhaps.
You want me to tell a joke to the monkey or the man?
No, 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 no. That's for all for my appearance.
Right.
I'm not good at this pretending to be happy thing, but I will get better.
I'm I'm gonna be perfectly honest with you, Sean. I have no idea what in the nine hells you're talking about.
And she kind of just like shakes her head frustratedly, and then tries to snap a weird smile onto it, which doesn't really work very well. It looks more like a sneer at this point.
Fel and Corla and Irina, you guys are a bit ahead, and you see what looks to be a tent. But the tent is just covering this building. And you see the sign of the Morning Lord upon the door. You recognize this, it's because it's a sigil that Everchild had carried with him. And amongst the din of the laughter and the noise, you hear the sound of reverent chanting. Do you enter into the building?
Abso-freaking-lutely. Corla and Arena would just hear Fel say quietly under her breath, still smiling, "Never thought I'd be so happy to see a freaking church." And then she's going to move as quickly as she can in that direction, sort of gesturing for Eli and Jean to pick up the pace. With, I imagine they probably have the cart and the kids, as well as Lancelot and Anatoly.
All right.
Actually, in this chaos, you notice that Anatoly is not with you.
Oh, great. Fuck. All right, let's go. She's just going to keep moving, just wanting to get off of these streets because I think probably for not the first time in her life, but for the first time in recent memory, she is almost like the child in Jean's arms, just totally overwhelmed. She's not used to being in a place with so many people and so much going on. So she just makes a beeline for the church, not even worrying too terribly much about Anatoly.
Yeah, you're not sure where you left him. It could have been all the way at the gate or somewhere in between. Honestly, in the chaos, you're surprised that you managed to keep track of who you did. As you walk in, silence is a welcome sound as these walls cover, they shield the mess, the chaos. You hear the sound of reverent chanting that I'm sure seems more beautiful than ever because it is quiet and melodic. You see that in this church, you see that the people here are not smiling. They are congregated together in a circle around a fire where a man stands, talking with them, comforting them, talking about each of them as if he knows them, talking about their lost loved ones, comforting them. And you hear the source of the chanting, and if you were to look down a hallway that kind of leads out of this main area, you would see a group of monks very similarly dressed to that of the monk who sprinkled the water on you in this burlap robes, shaven heads. And they seem to be chanting in front of a closed door. And all of you recognize the runes on this door as runes very similar to that on the box. And they chant this hymn. They don't ever seem to take a break or breath. The song never stops, never pauses. The man is also dressed in these simple robes. And Irina leans over to one of you. That must be the father.
Do we just, I guess we just go up and talk to him when he's done? See if he can provide you with sanctuary, maybe you and the children as well?
She nods.
Probably want to give it somewhere privately.
Maybe I should talk to him.
It's
Sort of
probably
a
good idea.
priest to priest sort of thing.
Well, I mean,
Well-
let Arena go with you at least.
Yeah, of course.
Mm.
And I just sort of look up at Arena and just kind of nod my head for her to follow. And I walk up to this group of people and just position myself where I would be in the line of sight of this man. And I walk up and I just stand there with my hands clasped in front of me, just listening, waiting.
You hear a voice, almost what you would imagine Everchild's to have been if he had grown up. Melodic, if he had, was able to reach maturity. It's very calming, melodic. You see that he gives rations and cups of water to these people. And they slowly leave one by one, and you almost see this act. It's very visible how they wipe away their tears and their solemnness at the door. You see their backs go rigid straight, a fake smile plastered across their mouth as they leave, some putting on this device, unable to mask their grief and pain. When all of them have left, this man turns to you, Eli. May the morning Lord bless your day.
And may Shantea bless your fields.
You see a smile. Shantea. Not heard her name in quite a long time. My name is Father Lucian Petrovich.
Father Petrovich, it's nice to meet you. My name is Eli Lancaster, formerly of Greenest.
How can I be of service to you today?
Well, this young woman here, Arena, and these two children, and I motion over to the side to where Sean is. We were hoping that they might find sanctuary here amongst your temple.
You hear a heavy sigh from Lucian. We can't offer the children much, I'm afraid. We can give them a warm bed and a meal a day. Our supplies are growing thin, and there are just more and more children every day, it seems. But we never turn away those in need. And if that is satisfying for you, then we will take care of them.
I look up to Arena to see if this sits well with her.
Irina nods. seems better than what is going on outside. At least they'll get fed and a warm bed. I am curious, though. Why is it that you do not have to smile? And the others do, and why do you not have to smile in this place? Lucian laughs. The Baron appreciates what we do here. We help with keeping the evil at bay. And that should be enough for him. People need a place of respite, of peace, away from what he has going on out there. My dear, and he immediately kind of looks at her and he furrows his brow. What is wrong with your neck? She covers her hair. You should not have come here. You should not have brought her here. This is not good. This is... You've brought him here.
What? What?
You must have seen it by now. The marks on her necks are clearly the mark of the devil.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest with you, Father Petrovich. This is the ways of this place are new to us, and we're not familiar with some of the warning signs, and well, quite frankly, a lot of the stuff going on around here. So you're going to have to assume ignorance on our part.
He pauses for a long time, kind of looking at you and then to Irina. Irina says, "Please, I'm really trying to get away from him. I'm not going to lie. He has come and visited me twice. And I'm trying to get as far away from him as possible. And my brother seemed to think that this was the last place for me to go. That you would protect me. The priest looks to you, Eli. You say you're a man of Shantea.
Indeed.
There's something I must show you.
All right.
Come." And he heads towards where the monks are chanting.
I'll follow him.
Behind here, we keep back a great ancient evil. Maybe even more ancient than the devil himself. For some reason, actually, to be honest, we're not sure whether this evil keeps away Strahd, but he hasn't come to us since the Wanderer brought this to us.
The Wanderer.
That's all he referred to himself by. He told us that we must protect this. He taught us the prayers that we need to say to keep this evil at bay. He proved it to us that this was indeed a great item of evil.
And he brought it to you. And you've been protecting it.
Yes.
And what exactly is it?
It's better if I show you. But you must not look at it long.
All right. Sure.
Lucian opens the door slowly, nodding to the others. They seem to increase their volume in their chanting. You walk in, and it's this very barren room. It's quite empty, save for this dais. And on this dais is what looks to be a very large cloth. It's standing upright. And you see a horrific image before you. Women, children being ripped apart by what look to be those similar to Dorian, or no, not Dorian, Doru, vampire spawns. They rip and tear and they claw. There's fire in the distance. There's black smoke. There are these strange, shadowy demons that seem to move and stretch out of this cloth. They seem to almost push against the fabric itself. And you see boxes. Each of the victims carry with them a box with names scrawled on them. I need you to make for me, please, a wisdom saving throw.
Yeah. Let's see how that goes. Wisdom saving throw is going to be a +2. Well, that's going to be a total of 10.
Eli, you've never seen something more beautiful in your life. You feel the power radiating from it. It's almost as if Shantea herself is reaching out to you. You think of all the good that you can do with all of this power contained within the cloth. And you want it.
I imagine that I begin moving towards it, hand outstretched, muttering, "The Lady of the Fields, good. Reap bountiful harvests through this power. I could be her, the one to reap her harvest. There's so much good that can be done with this." And I just begin walking towards it, hand outstretched.
Almost immediately, you feel multiple hands reach at your arms and your back to pull you out of the room. This jarring motion breaks your eye contact with the cloth. And this urge to own it, to capture it fades.
Huh. All right. I'm gonna guess that wasn't exactly a good thing, was it?
No, Lucian says, but I do not blame you. Very few can withstand the allures of the cloth.
What What does it mean? Who who are all those people, and what are those boxes that they were all carrying?
We know little about this. No one has been able to study it. We do know some things. We know that if you get too close to the cloth, if you even touch it, it's if you even touch the embroidering on it, you get devoured by the cloth and you become another victim with a box, devoured by some beast.
So only. Wait. Are you saying that the people depicted on that cloth, those tormented souls carrying those boxes, are all victims claimed by the cloth itself? Or is it just an artistic rendering?
Lucian shakes his head sorrowfully. He points to one. A man. His name was Hans. He was a member, a monk. He got too close one night. We didn't see him, we didn't get him in time. And he appeared on the cloth the next day.
What, has anybody ever gotten away from the cloth?
Not that we know of, no. But like I said, we know very little. We don't know what any of this means. The Wanderer came, taught us how to protect it, how to keep out the souls, or more, keep in the souls. There is something else. Every full moon, the souls come out of the cloth.
Well, okay, that's something.
But they're angry, violent. They seek to tear everyone in their path apart. If not for our chanting and for these walls, they would surely lay waste to Vallaki.
And, who was this wanderer?
We don't know. A man
How,
came, taught us how to do this. He didn't talk much, only instruction of how to
how long
keep this.
ago?
About a year.
A year. And this is the only artifact like this you've
Sorry,
seen?
I'm gonna retcon that. It hasn't been a year. It's been about 20 years. I don't know why I said a year. Sorry, it's been about 20 years.
So you've been doing this for 20 years.
Yes.
Have you ever seen anything, any artifacts similar to this? Other cloths? Anything that captures souls like this? Any, I don't know, boxes with names upon them?
No, we haven't. But since the Wanderer came, actually, now that I think about it, there was a young monk who was with us when the Wanderer came, and he claimed that along with this cloth, the Wanderer also carried one of these boxes.
Interesting. And what do you think that means?
We don't know. This is all so mysterious, and we've cloistered ourselves in here for the last 20 years. The chanting needs to be constant. But the reason why I've come to you. You seem like a good man, a man of the faith. Someone has been threatening us. Threatening to take the cloth. To take its power. We get strange notes under the doorstep into our church every so often. Sometimes it's daily, other times it's weeks at a time before we get another note.
And so what are you asking? You want me and my friends to try to see if we can figure out who this is and what they want?
That would be absolutely wonderful. We've tried to go to the Baron. We do respect that if you are not willing to. This is a lot to take in. And we respect that if you didn't want to. I just wanted to let you know before you leave a girl like Irina in our care.
Well, I don't doubt, despite this, I don't doubt that she'll be safe in your care. But I need to talk to my friends about this situation. We'll get back to you.
Of course.
But, Father, thank you for showing me this and helping me to understand what's going on here.
We hope you will understand something else. We have tried to destroy the cloth. But every time, every attack we send, either magical or weapon, gets bounced back straight at the attacker. We've lost a few monks this way.
No matter what. And nobody can touch it
No.
because they get pulled into it.
Well, the Wanderer carried it, but he made sure it was rolled up so that no piece of the embroidery of the picture was showing. That seemed to work, but none of us have tried to pick it up. For obvious reasons.
Yeah, that's probably for the best, but again, I appreciate you telling me all this. I will confer with my companions and we'll let you know what we discover and if we can do anything for you. I believe we're going to be making arrangements to stay at the, I believe it's called the Blue Water.
The Blue Water Inn.
Yeah.
I think it's closed. You're not allowed in. It's only between dusk and sunset. I believe the sun has set. You may stay here. We have plenty of room.
Well, again, I appreciate that and thank you for your hospitality.
I will warn you, however. This cloth creates horrible, horrible nightmares in this building. Brother, I'm trying to think of a name that's not Brother Mateus.
That was the first thing I thought of when you said brother. I thought you were going to say Mateus. There's another tiefling in town.
Oh, yeah.
He's everywhere.
Brother Gregory has managed to make a potion that will help you sleep and get rid of the nightmares, if you'd like.
All right. Again, thank you. I'll I'll talk to my friends and I'll tell them everything we've talked about, and we'll see this brother Gregory if we need to.
Very good. And he sees a few other people have come into the church. If you'll excuse me.
Of course. And I will head over to the others and take a few minutes and just sort of explain everything I learned about this cloth and what Father Petrovich is asking of us. Look, I realize I couldn't make this decision for all of us. We need to determine what we're going to do, but, well, and I look at Fell and Corla in particular. I don't know if Sean is even aware of the boxes. I'm not sure. I don't remember.
Orla is not aware of boxes either.
I look at Fell and just say, as
think-
I'm talking about the boxes.
I think, Corla, you
I don't-
are, just because they destroyed a box.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was after we found you.
But
Yeah.
you hid that from me. You went around into a different room and did it in a different
That
room.
I
is
didn't
true.
hide it from
Well,
you. I
we kind of impeded her view. That is true.
Ah,
But I mean,
okay.
I imagine
Okay.
you would have probably seen the screaming shadow demons that came out of it.
Yeah,
The shadow demons, yes, but box, no.
Yes.
But I guess I would just, while telling the bit about the Wanderer having the box and about the boxes on the shroud and all this stuff, I would kind of be giving Fell that pointed look and just say, look, I'm not entirely sure how to interpret this yet. Maybe I just need to sleep on it. There's a part of me that thinks that maybe if the Wanderer had a box, somehow he was like us, not from this place. And maybe it would allow, since, well, I'm the only one with a box with his name on it, maybe it would allow me to touch it. But all I did was look at it. And until Father Petrovich and the monks pulled me away, all I could see was the good that could be wrought by Shantea if I possessed that shroud. Now, granted, I didn't have one of these boxes in my hand, and I don't know if it takes it just being in possession or literally in my hands or what, but we need to talk about this after we get some rest. Now, there's a brother Gregory around here that apparently has a concoction that'll help you to sleep. Sean, that might not be a bad idea for the children. Is apparently staying here in this place in the very presence of that thing, well, it could make us susceptible to less than pleasant dreams.
I mean, pleasant dreams have not exactly been in abundant supply since we got here. And I imagine that during this whole time, while Eli's been having this conversation with the father and with Irina, that Fell has just sort of like sat down next to Lancelot, and she's just like holding him tightly, just running her hands through his fur as she tries to, one, process what Eli just said, but also sort of recover from just the insanity of outside the temple. But we should rest.
Well, seek out Brother Gregory if you want that concoction. I'm not going to take it.
Why not?
Well, one, not knowing what it is, I'm not exactly willing to partake of something I'm unsure of.
I'm so proud of you.
And two, if I'm going to wrap my head around this and try to understand it, I want a clear head, even if it is influenced by whatever this thing is. And I think that's going to be the best way to understand.
You just got through explaining to us that this cloth devours people. You sure you want to understand that right now?
I'm not saying I'm going to go sleep, wrap up in it
I
like a
know,
blanket.
I know that's not what you're saying, but why? Maybe for now we do the whole not borrowing trouble thing again, and we just rest, and maybe we can talk to Brother Gregory about what's in his potion. Maybe we do take it, depending on what's inside. I mean, hopefully he won't be as duplicitous as Granny was, but we can always ask and see what he says. I just don't think we should dance with this very dangerous thing, Eli, because that's what it sounds like you're doing, and we don't need that to happen again, right? Not right now.
Well, you make a fair point.
I try.
All right. So I guess I'll seek out this Brother Gregory and kind of just ask him what's in his concoction.
And Fel would go with him just because she has some kind of arcane knowledge-ish.
Okay. Corla and Jean, what would you be doing?
Jean is actually talking to this child that she has, the one that is coherent, not the soulless one. And she's trying to comfort this child and saying that the way to Barovia is dangerous. And here these people will keep him safe. Will watch over him. They are nice. They'll give you food and clothing and warmth. Try to comfort this kid.
When you're talking with him, he's looking down the entire time. You're not really sure if he's listening, but at the end, he looks up at you and he gives you this big hug. I trust you. I will go with these people if you think that is best. But promise you'll come and visit me.
Absolutely.
Along the journey, you figured out that this boy's name was Emil. And Corla, what are you doing?
Corla is actually sitting quietly beside the soulless child. Not talking, just sitting there, hoping that her presence is a comfort.
And you can't really tell whether it is or isn't. He tilts his head every so often. An action that he's been doing for quite a while. And you think at one point he rests his head on your shoulder, but then he lifts it again. So, you talk to Brother Gregory, and he is a young monk. Can't be older than Fel. And he is very open about talking about how he figured out how he did the distillation of the different roots and all that to create this this elixir. You can make insight checks if you would like.
I think Fel would actually make. I'm trying to think if this would be probably more nature than anything else. If it's root based, trying to figure out if there are any known side effects of these particular roots, if they're even roots that exist in Faerun versus existing in Barovia.
Sure, yeah. Make what? Yeah.
I'm thinking a nature check, maybe if I can roll high. Nope, that's a 5.
Your dice are fired.
They are.
They are very strange roots. You don't really know of them. They are not Faerun. Eli, You sense that this over-eagerness is extremely genuine. You get the feeling that he often tells of his inventions to the annoyance maybe of the other older monks.
I imagine even kind of finding a bit of affinity with young Gregory here. Not really having anybody I've ever talked to about my own creations. And I tell him, yeah, we'd like to avail ourselves of this, particularly for the children, and enough for the four of us. I'll leave it up to each of the individuals if they're gonna partake.
Of course, it'll take me a few moments to get the still heated up and all that, because I have to make it fresh or else it will go rancid very easily. You might feel a bit of drowsiness in the morning, but you will have a dreamless sleep.
Excellent.
Do we owe you anything?
No.
Oh, thank you, Brother Gregory.
And he goes, and a while later he would come back with 7?
Yes.
Yeah, 7 doses of this. And you can see like the roots, and you can like it's not a very pretty looking concoction. You can see like the little bits of root, the little bits of mushed up leaves, and this kind of like almost purpley ichor of sorts. It also might not. Well, who am I kidding? It doesn't taste very good. I've been trying out different flavors like vanilla and caramel, but they have not come out.
I mean, as long as it works. I mean, if it tastes bad, oh well.
If it doesn't mess up your chemical composition here, and I'm by no means an alchemist, given that you've got a lot of root in here, might I suggest salt and butter? Go for more of a savory concoction than a sweet concoction.
You see Gregory, he pauses and he's nodding slowly. Yes, that makes perfect sense. I'll try that. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Mm-hmm. And I imagine as they're walking away, Phil will just kind of nudge you, Eli, and just say, "You are full of surprises. You know that?"
I cooked for myself and Oscar on the road a bit. And we scrounge more than our fair share of roots. And I'm not saying I had butter and salt, but I sure wished I did, because when it was Oscar's turn to cook, that boy couldn't cook.
I absolutely believe that of a man that carried around a giant bag of bricks. But I hope he's okay wherever he's at. But anyway, I guess let's get this to everyone else, and then I can't remember. Did Isaac say that show was tonight, or did he mean tomorrow night? The one where all the nobles are going to be around and all that.
He did say tonight.
That's what I thought.
Oh, so it's not exactly time for us to go to bed yet, but
I mean, we don't necessarily have to go, right? Oh no, wait, no, that was against one of the laws. We have to go. Never mind.
yeah, I think we're required to, and we've kind of agreed to it. And
Right.
let's just stow these. But
Yes.
Sean, I think maybe let's leave these children with Irina and the monks here, and enough of these doses for them anyway. And all right, I guess we got a show to go to.
As we're kind of like handing off the children and the vials to Irina and the kids, Phil will actually approach Irina and just say, kind of hold out her hand and just say, I mean, we're going to see each other again. Obviously, we're going to be here in the town for a little while, but I just wanted to say thank you for everything you've done. I know you've been in kind of a shitty situation, as are we all, but you especially. So thank you. Just going to hold out her hand.
And Irina would clasp it. I appreciate all that you've done. You are very, very genuine, and that's very hard to come by in this land. And for better or worse, and she kind of looks around, you could hear the very, very slight din of music, the carnival music. I feel safer here already.
Well, good. And thank you for your words. And Irina would feel that Fel has pressed one of the moss agates that are worth 10 gold pieces into her palm as she withdraws her hand and then looks to the others and says, like Eli said, I guess we have a show to go to.
All right. And as you head out the door back into the chaos of Vallaki, that is where we will end our session.
All right.
Well, thank you everyone for watching, and thank you to my awesome players for playing, and this was a lot of fun. I've been scheming for a while, so can't wait to see what you guys do next. So our next game will be on November the 12th, and I'll see you all then. So everyone, have a good night. See you next time.